Last month, a bipartisan group of my colleagues visited Mexico, Ecuador, and Guyana to learn more about the trade challenges and other issues that are facing our bilateral relationships in Latin America. The one issue that came up in each of these countries is the rise of China's Communist Party's influence throughout the region. When Ambassador Tai testified in front of our committee, I told her that the CCP is outmaneuvering us when it comes to trade deals in the Indo-Pacific as well as our neighbors in our own hemisphere. Unfortunately, the Biden administration is failing to react strategically and successfully challenge the growing Chinese influence across the globe. That's why I've been diligently working in Congress with my Ways and Means colleagues to develop policy solutions that will press the administration into action. We're working on redeveloping the U.S. trade leadership in the Indo-Pacific Act to put America back in the driver's seat in regional trade deals in Asia. I'm a lead sponsor of the Made in America Act, which will reshore pharmaceutical supply chains from China to opportunity zones in the United States. With these policies and many more, it is clear that the Republican majority is ready to act. Now we need President Biden to step up and deliver for the American people. Mr. Goodman, I'm concerned major trade deals in the Indo-Pacific, like the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership and the CPTPP, are putting U.S. exports, businesses, and workers at a major disadvantage. Both of these agreements are phasing in tariff cuts throughout the region, proving that every year the U.S. does not negotiate a real trade agreement, that we are falling farther and farther behind. Do you think IPEF goes far enough to help the United States compete economically with countries like China in the Indo-Pacific? And if not, what would you recommend we do better to compete?
Thank you, Madam Congresswoman, and I agree with your analysis that I think we are losing ground, and an agreement like the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership is diverting trade away from us and towards China, other countries in the region, and so we need to be back in this game. I think the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework has some promise. It's good 13 countries have joined us. The agenda is not bad, and if these discussions can lead to kind of be the tributary for us to get back into the major river of major formal trade agreements. In other words, they can develop the standards and the best practices that could then feed into an updated regional trade agreement. Then I think it could be useful. But in and of itself, as an executive agreement that is not going to have enforcement mechanisms, it's not going to have the incentives for our partners to want to aspire to these higher standards that we're seeking, I'm concerned it's not going to be enough. So we need to think about it as a way to feed into a formal trade agreement.
That's a nice way to put it, but it's still just a polite suggestion. Mr. Greer, on our trip to Latin America, we learned the region is ripe for American leadership. Central America, in particular, can play a key role in countering China's trade and investment agenda. While I support CAFTA, I'm disappointed with the lack of growth under the agreement. The apparel trade has steadily declined over the life of CAFTA, while apparel imports from China have doubled, proving that CAFTA has left some sectors uncompetitive. What can we do to make apparel supply chains in the Western Hemisphere more competitive and resilient? And how can we support more growth and job creation in the region?
Congresswoman, as you mentioned, we already have a series of strong FTAs in the region. You could have a situation where you upgrade some of these agreements, like with CAFTA. Perhaps you can modernize it and add on new chapters. You know, I know I sound like a broken record, but with Section 301, we put tariffs on China, actually giving preferential tariff treatment to all other kinds of partners relative to China, who's their major competitor. So they should be poised to take advantage of that. They should be poised to take advantage of this preferential tariff treatment relative to China, take advantage of CAFTA, and look at modernizing it as you might suggest.